2016 Google User Group Meeting. This is being handled a couple of ways. We've got 2 live physical locations today. We've got it also broadcast live, and of course we're recording this. So for everybody that's out there, just want to thank you for those people that are here physically in the Spark offices where I'm at in Canton, Ohio. That's great. For those that have joined Anthony up at Marlington Local Schools, just outside of Alliance, wonderful. Thank you for being there. And for all the people that are watching this live being broadcast, thank you too. I'm glad that you're able to join us remotely. And for those that are watching in the future as well, welcome. Great to have you guys catch this at a time that works for you. So real quick, just a quick introduction. We lost a few minutes there. Apologize. We had some audio problems with our initial Hangout, so we did switch to a new stream. And so I want to get going as quick as possible so we make the most of the time that we have. Real quick, this is a monthly meeting. Well, typically monthly. We didn't have one last month in February because there was a ton of conferences and some other things that came up. But typically, this is a monthly meeting we do where we talk about everything new in Google Apps. It is connected to a couple of groups. This is connected to GEG Ohio, the Google Educator Group of Ohio, and it's also connected to Spark. Spark is where Anthony and I work. It's a information technology center up in Northeast Ohio, where we serve about 30 school districts, providing technology integration support. Having said that, though, this is open to anybody, anywhere in Ohio, the country, the world, doesn't matter. We're all happy to have anybody who wants to join us. Some of our things are going to focus a little bit more Ohio oriented, but for the most part, no. For the most part, this is just Google Apps in school, how to use it, what's new, neat ideas, stuff like that. Okay, so everybody is welcome to be here with us. The only thing I definitely want to make sure everybody is aware of is how to get into this agenda. The agenda that I have up here is where everything's at for our meeting today. Oh, and I should change that link here as well. That is the wrong link there now. Let me remove that old link and I'll paste in the new link here, because we did have that problem with our, so let me go ahead and I'll paste in the new link here real quick. Let me grab that and I'll paste in the correct link for viewing the meeting online. There we go. In case anybody, for any reason, didn't get it there as well. All right, so that looks good. So this agenda, you can get to it at google.apps.spark.org/user group. That is the website where we post all of the user group meetings, the links to the agendas, the past recorded meetings are there too. So again, that's google.apps.spark.org/user group. That takes you to this website here, which is our meeting website. If you scroll down, you'll see all the meetings we had this year. You can watch the older videos as well. They're all recorded there for any past user group meetings we've had. And then for today, the March 18th meeting, right here in the agenda column is the Google Doc link. And so if you click that, that will get you into the agenda. This is editable, so anybody can type in this. If you've got questions, comments, things you want to share, please feel free to do so. All right, so let me just do a little brief intro here, and then we'll get into all the stuff. So first thing up, we already did the welcome and introduction. So hi, I'm Eric, and again, Anthony. You'll see Anthony in just a little bit here when we connect. He's already connected, but when we bring him up with the Marlington folks. Below that, there's a bunch of important links, but honestly, the only one that I really need to draw your attention to is the sign-in form. We do give out certificates of attendance for attending these, whether it's in person or, just, you watched it later, that's fine. You can be watching it live, you can be here in person, you can watch the recording. If you go to this link, it'll take you out to the sign-in form, and all we ask you to do is fill in your information, pick the date of the meeting, today's March 18th, and then how you attended. Were you here at Spark? Did you go to Marlington? Or did you watch this online? All of those are perfectly fine. And we also want to know if this is the first time you've attended. This information is helpful for us, but we also pass it along to Google. We don't give them like your name or email address or anything like that, but we do give them some details about how many people attended, because they do ask us to collect that each month for our meetings. So those, there's other good links here, but that's the key link that we want to draw your attention to there. Below that, we've got a section here where we talk about updates. So I'm going to fly through this real fast. Again, we lost a little bit of time at the beginning, so I'll do this kind of quick. We do have two main groups that are represented in these meetings. Again, this is open to anybody, anywhere. So if you're not part of GEG Ohio, if you're from a different state, different country, that's perfectly fine. But we do have our Spark Google user group and our GEG Ohio, our Google Educator Group of Ohio. And these two links will shoot you out to those websites. So for example, the Google Educator Group of Ohio, if you click on that, that takes you out to that community website. We have over 1,000 educators all around the state of Ohio who have joined this group. This is a great place to be connected in between the meetings. So for the month in between the meetings, you can come here and you can post questions, comments, share resources, ask questions of each other. And then you can scroll down through here and see all these wonderful posts. John's posted and Colleen's posted. I throw a bunch of posts up on there. We've got Anthony posting there and Kathy and Google comes on and they post as well. Rhonda's posted. Wonderful, wonderful things. This is a great way to stay in the loop on the most recent news and updates and resources and professional development opportunities with Google. So please feel free to join the GEG Ohio group. We also have one that is specific for the Spark area. You can join both of them. That's fine too. The Spark area is going to be more specific to our area up here in Northeast Ohio. All right, so that's the updates on those. We always like to let you know any upcoming events, things on the horizon that you might want to plug into. Now, Anthony and I try to do one webinar per week. We don't always get one every week, but we try, so a couple a month for sure. And we do have some upcoming webinars. If any of these look interesting to you, please feel free to sign up for these. Again, everything's free. There's not any charge for any of these things. Anthony's going to be doing one next week on keeping your library relevant, viable, and transformative. And so there's the link for that webinar. I'll be doing one the week after that on student-created storybooks using Google Slides. And then Anthony has one coming up after that on supercharging Google Sheets with add-ons. In each case, all you have to do is click the link. That'll shoot you out to the webinar page. There's a nice friendly register button there so you can sign up. You don't really even have to sign up, but doing that, it'll make sure you get an email reminder to let you know, hey, don't forget, and here's the link and all that nice stuff. This is the same page, though, where the webinar will be live broadcast when it's time for the webinar. And then down below there, you'll have any resources. And there's always, when the webinar is over, there's a quiz you can take to earn a certificate of attendance for one contact hour. So, hey, if you're looking for some extra PD hours as we get close to the end of the school year, or if you know teachers in your school that are coming up a little bit short on their required hours for the year, this is a great way. They can come and they can watch any of our upcoming webinars or our previous ones. I got a link in here to all of our previous webinars right above there. We've got over 30 of them. There's tons of these. They're all an hour long each. You can watch them whenever you want. And again, take the quiz, get the certificate of attendance, turn that into your LPDC for those hours. So those three are coming up. And of course, there'll be more after that, but those are the ones on the horizon. And if you are in the Ohio area, again, I said some of this is more Ohio specific, but if you're in the Ohio area, we've got two events in the next few months. There's an Ed Camp coming to Mentor High School up here in Northeast Ohio on April 16th. If you've never been to an Ed Camp, that's more of a make your own conference. They don't have any sessions scheduled ahead of time. You show up that day and you decide what are the topics people are interested in, and it's sort of a bring your own, build your own, create your own conference. It's a great opportunity to work with people and be a lot more involved in that conference activity for that day. And then we have our Google Ohio Summit coming up May 16th and 17th. And this year they've moved it from Kalahari down to Columbus. So hopefully by putting it more central, it'll help benefit some folks in more southern Ohio. And so you can still sign up for that. That's coming up in May. All right, so that's the quick intro stuff. I'm going to pause there for a moment. Anthony, on your end, or anybody at Anthony's location, or folks here in the room with me, is there anything else we need to mention as far as upcoming events? Did I miss anything before we get into the meat of the meeting? Anything, guys? No? All right. Sounds like that covers all that. So what we're going to do is our normal approach to these meetings is we spend the first chunk of time talking about what's new in Google Apps. So in the last month, what new things have rolled out. Unfortunately, we missed last month, and so I put in 2 months of updates. I am not going to go through 2 full months of updates. There's just way too much stuff there. So I put a bolding, I put bold on the dates of the ones that I thought were worth talking about for sure. But please feel free to check out the other links as well, because something there may really resonate with you, and for whatever reason, I didn't think it was one that we needed to talk about for sure. So I'm just going to go through the ones that are bolded and chat about those. At the same point, though, please interrupt me, Anthony, on your end. If there's somebody there that something that's in those updates really is exciting to them and they want to talk about it, you guys here, same thing. Please interrupt me and let me know. People that are watching live, you can leave comments in this doc. If there's something you want to throw off in the comment side over here and give us some feedback, that's fine too. So that'll be the first chunk of time. We're going to go through updates. After that, it's really then up to you guys. The rest of it is, okay, do you have any questions? There's a Q&A section. If there's something you're curious about, please type that in there. And there's a show and tell section. Would you like to share something? We're really fortunate today. The folks at Marlington are going to be sharing some neat things that they're doing. And so that's why Anthony's on location there today. But if you guys have some other things you'd like to share, we would love to be able to hear those things. All right. Let's get going then. So first of all, what's new in Google Apps? Couple of things that I wanted to cover for that. First of all, back in January, so this was right after our January meeting, like as soon as we get done with the meeting, they released a bunch of new things. They updated commenting. And I'm sure by now this is old news. You guys probably know this, but just to make sure everybody's comfortable with what that means, we've always been able to add comments inside of Google Docs. But it used to be you would come in and you would highlight something that you wanted to comment on, and then you would go up to the insert button and you would insert a comment. Well, that's fine. You can still do that, but you don't have to do it that way anymore. Now you can highlight words, and then automatically over in the side, this little button pops up and it says add comment. So instead of having to go up to the insert menu, anything that you highlight in here will let you automatically click and add a comment. So here is my comment. And so I can go ahead and do that and add a comment right on the side just by highlighting and then clicking on that little button that pops up. So that's nice, and it works for web and mobile versions of doc sheets and slides. So that's a pretty neat way to encourage people to do commenting for folks that maybe were not aware that you're able to do that. So pretty snazzy. All right, let's keep heading down the list. And again, I'm skipping over a bunch of things. Definitely feel free to click on any of those. There's links that go out to the news articles that tell you more about those. Another one, I know we've talked about this before, but it's worth mentioning again. Google is offering their free online power searching class again. And this is something they put together a couple of years ago. I remember when it first came out. It's a really nice online course where they talk all about how to make the most out of Google search. And so this article is letting you know that they are now running this live again. So if I head over to the power searching website, you will see that the class is running from February all the way through the end of the year. Now, it doesn't say it right in there, but I think back in the blog post, it says they're going to run, here it goes. Yes, they're going to run it every 2 weeks continuously until June. And so the first class is February 22nd, then March 7th, March 21st, and so on. So you can come in here and register for this course, and you can go through the Power Searching with Google online course. Now, they actually have two different courses here besides just this one. There's also an advanced power searching. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Power searching, power searching, two S's there. Power searching with Google. Here we go. Here's the main site for it. So just powersearchingwithgoogle.com. And so You can see here that they've got their main intro power searching course, then they got the advanced power searching course. Now, the advanced one is not being done live, but you can go through the recorded version of it yourself. So there's a self-paced version of that if you just want to go through on your own. The benefit of going through the live one is just you get to interact with people more. So there's a forum and you can post and you can, communicate and connect with other people. But again, that's a great free offering from Google. And so if you or your students would like to really improve your ability to search well and find the information that you need and learn all of the neat bells and whistles that are built into Google searching, definitely take advantage of that. Let's keep heading down the list. Next up, this is a big one. We've been waiting for this for a while. Google Forms got a whole bunch of updates in the last few months. Now, we've seen back in September, they rolled out the new look of Google Forms. So that's not new. So here's a look at it. This is just a quick demo form. And this is what the new Google Forms looks like. So that's not new. That we've known about. That came out back in September. It was optional. You didn't have to use it. You could always use the old version if you want, and you still can. If you go into the new forms and you don't like it, way down in the bottom left-hand corner, there's this little icon of a running man. That's to run back to the old version of Google Forms. You can click on that if you want. But with the new version of Forms, they've started to add some features to it that were missing when it first released. Because they released it, like I said, back in September, and it didn't have everything working quite yet. It was sort of like a beta version of it. Well, since then, they've now added some new things. So what are some of the new things that just came out? Well, one of them is when you send the form out and people start responding, there's now a responses tab that has the option to either see your summary of responses or to see individual responses one at a time. And that's new. In the past, you could always get a summary of, the bar graphs and the pie charts and things like that as people have responded. But now you can click the individual button. And what it does is it lets you see each individual person's responses. So I can see that Jim answered Google Drawings as his favorite app, and that he would like to learn more about slide sheets and forms. And then I can click through one person at a time, or I can use the drop-down arrow and choose the person I want to look at here, and I can see their individual responses. So that's a nice way to drill down into just one person's response rather than seeing all of them. That's kind of nice. Another thing, you're going to see this right away, is who has responded. If you create a form and you hit the send button and you actually put people's email addresses in there, if you send it specifically to people. Now, this isn't going to work if you use the link option. If you're giving people the link and you're just copying and pasting it, well, Forms doesn't know who you gave the link to. But if you're sending it out through email, it'll know who you sent that to. And when you do that, it'll keep track of those people, and it'll be able to tell whether they've responded or not. So 3 of my users have responded, 2 of my users have not. And so that's a nice way to be able to see who has and who hasn't responded to the form. In addition to that, there's an email reminder option now. So if I've been really needing to get everybody to respond, we're getting close to the due date on this, and I got 2 people that still haven't filled out the form, I can just click send email reminder, and it will automatically fill in the people that I've been waiting for them to complete the form. And so I can send them a quick little message, hey, please don't forget to get this filled out before such and such a date. So that's pretty slick. That's nice. While we're on that tab, one other thing that's new on this part of it is if you're on the responses tab and you go up to the little 3 dots here, it's the more, but they call it the more button, but it's the little 3 dots button. You can also turn on and off if you want to get email notifications when people submit. Now, we've always been able to do this in the spreadsheet. We've never been able to do it in the form. So in the past, you could go to your spreadsheet, and from your spreadsheet, you could click on Tools and Notification Rules. And so you could do that in the past. You could say, anytime somebody submits a form, email me right away. So you've been able to do that. That's not like a new thing, except now instead of having to go to the spreadsheet, you can actually do that right from the form and turn on notifications. I think this is beneficial for those people that maybe aren't going to actually use the spreadsheet, because you don't have to use the spreadsheet. You can just let forms collect all your data there. So that's just another option if you want to get notified. The last thing, though, is probably the biggest part of this, and that is they have now turned on add-ons. So we were missing add-ons from Google Forms. We had the new version of Forms. We had no way to use all those wonderful add-ons that we love. And so now you can. If you go up to the 3 dots in the very top right-hand corner of Forms, and you go down to the add-ons link, that will open up the add-ons menu that we're all used to from the old version of Forms. And now you can scroll down through there. If you find an add-on you like, you just click on the plus free button to install it, and it will install those add-ons. So you get to the add-ons now to install them from the 3 dots button and add-ons. To run the add-ons, though, you don't go there, you go to the puzzle piece button. And it won't show up until you at least install some add-on. There won't be anything there. But once you start installing add-ons, then you can go to the puzzle piece button, and then you can launch your add-ons from there. So install them from the 3 dots, launch them from the puzzle piece. If you want to get rid of an add-on, that's again through the 3 dots. Go to the 3 dots, go to the add-ons catalog, find an add-on you've got installed, click on manage, and then you can remove it from there. So a few different locations. Things aren't quite in the same spot that they used to be, but thankfully add-ons are now here. Speaking of that, I coincidentally did a webinar just a while ago. I think trying to remember, was it this week? I think it was just this week. It's a blur. It's just a blur. Yeah, it was my webinar this week. It was on Forms add-ons. And so if you would like to get an overview of all the awesome add-ons that are out there for Forms, this will shoot you out to my blog post about the 9 awesome add-ons for Google Forms that I highlighted, and there's the webinar. So you can play that. It's a 1-hour webinar, just like normal. There's the slideshow for it. And then I talk about how to install add-ons, how to use add-ons, how to remove add-ons, and then I go through these are the 9 that I cover in the webinar. So I go through all 9 of these and talk about how they work and why you might want to use them in a school setting. So that was a well-timed webinar because they just turned on add-ons for Forms just a little bit ago, and so that webinar does cover all of those. All right, good stuff. Excellent. Anything else on? Oh, I did forget to mention they have added templates also for Forms. I did forget about that. Google Forms now also has templates like docs and sheets and slides have templates as well. For that, if I were to go to, I think I have to get to my Forms screen here. Let me pull that back up here. I think I have to get to my normal Forms screen to get to my templates. There we go. If you go to forms.google.com, from there you can see the new templates. And so they've got a more button up here, and they have pre-made some forms for you. So if you're looking for a pre-made form for an exit ticket, or a quiz, or a course evaluation, or an event registration, or an order form, or a work request, they've already put some of these together to get you started. So I thought that was kind of nice too. So a bunch of stuff with Forms. Awesome. Very, very neat. A lot of neat new options there. And I do see we had a question over here. Terry was asking, does only the creator of the form see these responses, or everyone that completed the form? And Eric answered, Eric Siders, only the person that is the owner can see who has participated. That is right. People that are filling out the form, they don't see all of those. All that they see is they see the actual form itself. They fill it out, they submit it, and that's it. The most you could do if you wanted to, there is an option in here in the settings to let people see a summary of the responses. And if you do that, then yes, people would be able to see those bar graphs and pie charts after they complete the form. I would do that if it was like maybe a vote, like you were doing a poll or something. You wanted people to be able to see, you know, the current winner or whoever's currently leading in, you know, hey, what's your favorite lunch meal? Do you want hot dogs, pizza, or hamburgers? And they could see a summary of the responses afterwards. But that would be only if you go in and yourself under the settings of the form here, the little gear, and say, I want to have a summary of responses shown to people after they submit. Otherwise, no. They're not able to get the responses. That is just for you as the form creator and anybody who this has been shared with as a co-editor with you.
Eric?
Yes.
Terry's going to love the fact that you can use this for her RTI, that she'll be able to people will be able to see the results as they put them in.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, you know, whatever you're using Google Forms for, these new features can definitely add additional functionality that you haven't had before. That's great. All right. So that's what's new with Forms. Let's head down a little bit more, take a look at a few other items. I was hoping to show this one in person today. We have a demo coming of it, but it hasn't shown up yet. It's supposed to be here still this week, so my guess is it'll arrive right after the meeting here today. But you've heard me talk in the past about CTL. They're one of the companies that makes Chromebooks. Ruggedization is the thing anymore, and that is great. I'm so glad that that is now the case. Most Chromebooks are coming ruggedized with reinforced hinges, more durable shells, so the screens don't crack. Well, CTL, I think, has gone probably the furthest of anybody that I've seen. This is the most rugged that I've seen so far anyway, is the new CTL NL6X Chromebook. And what is really special about it is the amount of weight that it has been rated at. So if I come in here, I don't know if that's the link I wanted. Maybe the other link showed it a little bit better. Let me see. Let me try the other link. Yeah, I think this is their webpage. So here it is. Here's the Chromebook. And they mention on here that it has been tested up to, there it is, 365 pounds of pressure on it. So apparently people have like literally stood on it. And oh, here's a picture. There we go. People have literally stood on the Chromebook, and it has protected the screen and the keyboard and all the internals up to 365 pounds. So I thought that was really a pretty neat level to get that to. Other than that, I mean, it's a normal Chromebook, as you would expect. I mean, all the internals and so forth are the same, but far more rugged. And then the only other thing that I thought was kind of clever about this is they've got a new surface to it that you can write on. And so the surface of the Chromebook is actually like a whiteboard. And so if you, and I see this a lot of times in schools where they'll have little personal whiteboard pads next to the kids that they can do quick doodles on and write on and work stuff out. The Chromebook itself now is a whiteboard as well. So I thought, that's kind of clever. So for what it's worth, just, you know, there are so many awesome Chromebooks out there now. The whole ruggedization is the thing. You can find that from Asus and Acer and Dell. I mean, they're all going rugged, but just wanted to highlight the one from CTL. I thought that was pretty neat with the whiteboard and the really, really strong reinforcement to hold 365 pounds. That one is, I believe, the normal like 11.6, I'm going to guess. Let's see. Does it say in the specs here? Did you 11.6? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So it's the standard size we've been seeing with those. All right. Let's keep heading on down. Next up, this one, I wish I had a little bit more detail, but I definitely want to make sure everybody's aware of this. I've been sending off some emails trying to get an exact answer on this, still working on it. But Google announced back in February that they are ending their Play for Education program. Okay, so first thing I want to do is make sure you understand what that means, because at first it sounds really scary, like, oh, they're turning off some massive program. Well, the Play for Education program initially was for tablets. Okay, now not a ton of schools have gone tablet, which is one of the main reasons why the program's ending, because Chromebooks have just taken over. Chromebooks have just exploded, and they're now the most popular device in classrooms across the country by far. Well, when the Play for Education program launched, this was quite a few years ago. I'm going to say, good grief, at least 4 years ago, or at least I know it was in development there, because I was actually on one of the advisory committees for the development of it. I got to be in Hangouts with them and talk about, what's good and bad and all that stuff. So I remember when this was in its infancy, first getting started. And the idea was they wanted to have an easy way for schools to manage tablets, because tablets can be a headache. Anybody who's got tablets in their district, I know you're nodding your head right now saying, yep, it can be a management challenge to take care of tablets. And so Play for Education was really designed just to make that as painless as possible. And so with Google's Android tablets, you could buy, just like with a Chromebook, a $30 license that would let you manage that tablet. And what it did was it lets you use this site. Let me bring up the site real quick. play.google.com/edu. So play.google.com/edu. This was the Google Play for Education store. It allowed you to go to this site. Now, if you try to go there and it won't let you in, it is something that your Google Apps administrator has to allow. So it's very possible right now, if you type in play.google.com/edu, it may not let you in. It may say something like this has been disabled or you don't have access to this. Your Google Apps administrator does have to turn it on and does have to give you access, does have to give you permission to it. So basically, this was a special store you could go into, and you could come in here as the admin and you could give teachers access to it. So there's a teacher access section. I could come in here and just type in a teacher's name, add them, and give them the ability to come in and use the store as well. And what it did was it allowed teachers, well, really anybody you put in here, it allowed them to go and look at Android apps and to look at Chrome apps. So there's the Android apps and there's the Chrome apps. And it would allow them to find an app that go, oh, this is a really cool Android app or a really cool Chrome app. They could click on it. And after they found the app they liked, they could click the install button and they could push out that app to their students. And so it really put a lot of power in the teacher's hands to be able to say, I don't want to have to fill out a form, submit it to the tech team, have them then go in and push out this app from the admin console. If your school decided to give you that ability, teachers or whomever in the school could go to the Chrome for Education store, find Android apps for tablets, Chrome apps for Chromebooks, and push them out automatically to their students. Now, if they found a really awesome one, they probably should at some point tell other people about it. Maybe the tech team could push it out to all the kids then, but this allowed teachers to not have to wait for that. It put that power right there in their hands. And I really liked that. I thought it was a great option, because otherwise you either have to turn on the ability for the students to install the apps, which some schools do, some schools don't. Sometimes we worry that that's going to, have them installing games and things like that. On the other hand, the other end of the spectrum is you have to use the admin console, and your Google Apps administrator has to always be pushing out the apps, or you have to give limited access to the admin console, which is fine too. You can create a special role which is just for pushing out apps, and you could give that to your teachers as well. But the point is, this is pretty and it's easy to use. I mean, all the other ones are fine, but there's drawbacks to letting the users do it. There's drawbacks to doing it in the admin console. Hey, if that's all you got, it works fine. You can definitely do it. But this is nice. I mean, you can come in here and you can say, I'm looking for, math apps, and they're all pulled out nicely, and all about them. They've got good descriptions. It's been vetted. It's been curated. And so that was a really nice thing about this, was being able to come in here. And again, if you're using tablets, you could find all these great tablet apps. If you're using Chromebooks, you could find those. And if you are using tablet apps, most of the time those do cost money. You were able to add POs and give people access to the POs so they could just buy the apps straight away. Google put a ton of thought into making this, and it really was a very user-friendly process that eliminated a lot of the pain points that we see when it comes to managing mobile devices. Well, they have announced that they are ending that program. As of a few days ago, it would have been, I think March 14th was when they would no longer sell licenses for Google Play for Education. So going forward, nobody can buy Android Google Play for Education licenses. Now, what they've said is not a lot, unfortunately. What they've said is you can't buy any new licenses. But they're saying anybody who's bought them in the past is going to be supported. They're not like kicking folks out if they've bought them. So if you've got tablets and you've got licenses, you're fine. You're not going to lose anything, they're saying. And then they're saying going forward, if you still want to use Android tablets, which I'm sure they want you to use, they're saying there's now third-party companies that they feel do a really good job managing those. And so they're recommending people to look at these other companies that have tablet management software, and they're just going to let them take over that instead. What we don't know, and again, I've sent an email. Once I get an answer, I'll be happy to share it, but I've heard every possible answer, so I don't have one consistent answer. My question is this site going away? Are we going to lose this site for things like Chromebook apps? Because I realize the Play for Education was really initially about tablets. But I think this is a wonderful way for teachers to go in, find these find these Chrome apps, and then, like we said, click on them and say, "Oh, I want to install that for my kids," and just push it out. Are we going to lose that? That's the thing I don't know. I don't know if they're shutting the store down. I also don't know if they're going to update the store. Are they going to keep putting new apps in here? Or is this basically, it is what it is, and we're not doing anything more with it? If that's the case, then of course that means we're all going to have to go to the normal Chrome Web Store, and we're just going to have to find things there, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with the regular Chrome Web Store, except that it is everything. It's not curated. It's not, whittled down. Now you can come into your categories. You can say, just bring up the education things. And that helps. It still does. It definitely helps. But I'm just not sure if this is going away completely and we're just going to have to use the Chrome Web Store. So once I find out more about that, I will be happy to share that. But just wanted everybody to know that the Play for Education program, as far as buying licenses for your tablets, that is over now. They have stopped that. We just have to kind of figure out going forward what remnants of that Play for Education site will still be around. And if anybody has ideas on that, let me know, because I've gotten emails from a bunch of people. One person tells me nothing's changing. Another person tells me everything's changing. So unfortunately, until there's a @google.com on the end of their email address, I don't really think I have a good answer. All I've heard is rumors and speculations and stuff from different people. All right. All right, let's keep on going. Next up, real quick, we've talked about CloudReady. I know Marlington will talk about that a little bit on their own, so I'm not going to hit too much of it other than to say CloudReady is that tool that allows you to take old laptops and old computers and turn them basically into Chromebooks for free. Or you can pay a license cost if you want to manage them, but there's a free version too. The cool thing is they're now allowing dual booting. That's neat because it used to be you would have to either put CloudReady on a USB stick and boot from that, or you could install it on the computer, but you would wipe the hard drive entirely when you did that. Now, that may not be a problem because, hey, it's an old computer, so it's probably not running good anyway. But what if you want to use it on something and it's maybe not all that old, and you want to be able to still use Windows as well as the Chrome OS? Well, now you can install it to the hard drive, but in its own partition, so that when the computer starts up, it will ask you, do you want to boot to CloudReady or do you want to boot to your native OS? So sweet, that's pretty nice. Happy to hear that. Next one down. This is a little bit more just of a technical thing, but it's worth just throwing out there. Google is now offering free dedicated denial of service protection, but only to certain sites to begin with. Now you say, Eric, what are you talking about here? Well, okay, so real quick, here's the idea. there is a procedure that people can do online called a dedicated denial of service. And basically what it is you pay 50 bucks, 25 bucks, I don't know, it's not very much, to a service to do this. And they have literally tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, who knows, millions of computers at their disposal around the world. And what they do is they basically, I don't want to say attack, that's the wrong word, but they access your site all at one time and basically send so much traffic that they bring your site down. Okay, so it's like if we were to say, hey, there's going to be a concert downtown Canton, tonight, and everybody tries to drive there all at once. Well, nobody's, doing anything wrong. They're all driving on the streets like they're allowed to drive on the streets, but there's just too many people and suddenly nobody can get anywhere. Well, that's the idea. They can overwhelm your website or your server with so much traffic that it basically just goes offline. Nobody can access it. And the problem is this is really, really, really hard to protect against. And schools have this happen. A student will get hacked off somewhere and say, you know what? I'm going to take my school's website down today. And they'll spend, seriously, 25 bucks on one of those websites. They'll pay for a denial of service attack, and suddenly, boom, the school's website goes down. Well, thankfully, we can track those things back and usually find out who did it, and there's consequences and all that. But it doesn't stop the fact that they pulled a denial of service attack off. They may get punished for it, but it still happened. So I know here at Spark, we've invested a lot of resources and money, and I know the state of Ohio has as well, to come up with ways to help prevent this. Well, the cool thing is Google is now saying they are willing to help with this as well. So they're going to take all of their incredible power and put it into a beta program right now, where they're offering it at the moment to smaller websites. I think, here you go. It's aimed at smaller news sites to begin with, who don't have the resources to pay for the costly protection against these cyber attacks. And what's going to happen is if they decide to do that, they're pretty much just going to direct their visitors through Google's domain servers, which will then filter out any of the malicious traffic. So Google has the power, the resources to be able to mitigate these denial of service attacks if you're sending all your traffic through their servers before it gets out to your site. Now, I hope that goes well. I hope it then expands, because wouldn't that be wonderful if Google offered denial of service protection for education accounts? That would be really, really cool. So I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I wanted to let you know, because I know this is one we've all felt the pain of. It happens. Things go down because of these attacks. And I'm glad to see Google is perhaps going to do some stuff about that. So I thought that was cool. Next one that I thought was worth talking about was the Docs voice typing expanding to now include formatting and editing commands. Okay, so what is this all about? Well, let me go ahead and just throw a blank line in here so I can demonstrate this for you. We've already been, this is not anything new. We've seen voice typing for a while here recently, but they've added some new features to it. So if I'm in a Google Doc and I go up to Tools and I come down to Voice Typing, it opens up this little floating microphone where I can simply click and I can just talk. So if I click here, I'll just do something real quick. This is just a test. And so just by clicking on that and typing or talking, it will type whatever I say. Well, that's pretty sweet. Well, what they've done though now is instead of just that, they've included commands you can say while doing that. So there's this article, but there's this whole list of commands. If I go to this link here, you'll see there are hundreds of commands. So while talking, you can say things like select all, select line, select word, deselect. Or you can say things like align center, align left, bold, underline. You can just say all of these different things. There's for cutting and copying and pasting, inserting footers and headers. You get the idea. As I move around through here, there's just so many possible things you can say to it. Well, that's really neat, because again, that's going to give us a whole lot more control from our voice. So if I came in here, let me try it. Let me see if it works okay. Select line, bold, And there we go. Just by telling it to select the line and saying bold, it does it. So this could help students with, you know, physical limitations, or if it's maybe even a broken arm or something like that, they can now keep on typing just by talking instead. Or, hey, this could be great for those of us that just want to dictate things, get our thoughts out into the document. I think it could also be really neat just for students who maybe are younger and have not yet mastered the fluency with keyboarding skills. That could be really good for them. Also, to reinforce the idea of punctuation, because you can say period and question mark and things like that. I think that's another neat way to kind of reinforce that with them as well. I know I've got down later in the document a little bit of a blurb here about something else to do with voice typing. So before we leave this, I'll just mention it real quick. I don't know when this update came out because it's not part of that article, but there's also now a drop down where you can pick your language that you want to type, that you want to talk in. And they have loads of languages. And so if you want to speak in a foreign language and talk to it, it will go ahead and listen for that language. So this could be really great for students who are practicing fluency in a foreign language. So if I was learning French, well, I did when I was in school, so that's been 30 years ago, so I don't remember it real well now. But if I switch this over to French and I try to say something in French here, we'll see how well it goes. We'll try this real quick. Je m'appelle Eric. Hey, there we go. My name is Eric. And so this would be a great way for students to practice fluency in foreign languages as well. So pretty slick stuff. So just be aware, Google Voice Typing is getting a lot of these new features. Now, I should say the formatting and editing commands, those are only available in English. So you can talk in the other languages and it will type what you say, but the actual things where you say select the line and do the bold and all that, that at the moment is only for English. They have not extended those yet to the other languages, but that's okay. I'm sure they will. They always start off with English and then they add more as we go.
Eric, can I speak a little bit of Russian?
You can speak some Russian, absolutely.
Turn me on there so you can see if we can do it over the link.
Are you in the document? Because
I'm in the doc.
Go ahead and find, where are you at? Why don't you just grab a blank line here?
Very bottom after my searching thing.
Oh, you're at the very bottom. Okay, so I'm going to try to talk Russian down here at the bottom. Go ahead.
I got to push up. I got to hit the button or it's not going to work. Okay, you need to switch it. And by the way, you need to know what Russian looks like in Russian, which is right here. Я ебью тебя. Я ебью тебя. Sometimes it doesn't want to do it the first time. Я ебью тебя. I'm not getting any sound, Eric. I'm not sure why.
Oh, yeah. I'm not seeing it do it either.
I'll demonstrate. The group here will get to see it live. Oh, there we go.
Oh, there it is.
Tibia. Ya ебью тебя. That's not working too well. I'll do it personally here so the Marlington group will get to see it. No one else will get to see it. By the way, that is I love you in Russian. One of the few phrases I know.
Anthony only knows a few. One is nice, one is not.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say that.
I wasn't sure which one he was going to pick here today because he's done this for me in the office and it does work very well. But he's shown me both of the phrases and that he can speak. So Anthony's ready to speak Russian in at least two different situations. All
yes.
Right.
Okay, I'll go ahead and mute myself here.
Okay, all right, go ahead. All right. So where were we at? Let's pick up a couple more things here, and then we'll get into our Q&A and show and tell. This one's kind of cool. YouTube has now added a custom blurring tool in the editor. Okay, so YouTube allows you to, of course, store whatever videos you want. as many as you want, as long as you want them to be, all for free. It's fantastic. Over time, they've started adding some editing tools as well. So instead of just storing videos, you can do things to them. So let me show you. Let me pop over to, I'll use my Spark YouTube channel. I really don't put much, well, see if I have anything on my Spark YouTube channel. If not, I can pull up my personal one. Let's go to my Spark YouTube channel. Yeah, I've got a test. That's fine. I'll just use this test. I use my personal channel typically. This is just for testing here. So let me go ahead and I'll pull up this this test one, and we'll just try it out and show you how it works. So if I go into my video manager and I grab one of these test videos and I click on edit to bring that up, this is like a 30-second video. I don't know. I was just testing out a Hangout for some demo somewhere. And normally you've got a lot of editing tools, and it's pretty cool. Like you can go in and you can add, you know, title and description. You can go to enhancements, and you can do things like adjusting the saturation and the color and the contrast and slow motion and time lapse, and you can trim. I usually come here to trim. So like when I do a webinar, I'll have some dead time at the start of the webinar. I go to enhancements, I go to trim, and I trim off the beginning so the dead time is gone, okay? Then there's like audio if you want to add soundtracks behind your video. There's annotations if you want to come in here and you want to add your speech bubbles, your spotlights, things like that. That's always been there. Well, the new thing they've done is in enhancements, they now have over here blurring effects. And so if I click there, I can automatically find and blur faces, or I can choose an area to blur in the video. Now you say, well, why would you do that? Well, it could be for, you know, a lot of reasons. If I'm an educator and what I was filming maybe had some confidential information in it, maybe I'm doing a training and somebody's email popped up, you know, during my training as I'm sharing my screen, or I've got some data and maybe some of the data is student data, and, you know, I don't want that to be seen in the video. Or maybe there's some students who, for whatever reason, you know, we don't have the signed media release for them. You can now blur information out after the fact. You don't need to use special software. In the past, I'd have to download this video, run it through Camtasia, do the blurring, and re-upload the video. Now I can just say, oh, let's blur faces. So let me apply that and let this play, and you'll see what it looks like. I'll turn my volume down here on that. Okay, so there you go. Anything on this side is getting blurred, and whoops. Yeah, I picked a bad video. This one may not have a whole lot on there. Let me pull it back up. Let me pull this over so you can, there you go. And so you can see it's blurring it there. So you can see the before and after. It will find faces and it will blur faces out automatically. As the person moves around, it actually follows that person and it blurs the faces even when they move around. So I thought that was pretty slick. In addition to that, I'll not do that. Let me go ahead and come up and take that off. The other option here is to blur just certain areas. So if I come into my custom blurring allows me to take my mouse and drag a box on something that I want to blur out. And then I can decide whether I want to lock it or not. If I lock it, it won't move. If I don't lock it, it'll follow that thing around. So if it was, you know, a document that had some information on it and I'm moving it around on the screen, it would actually follow that document. But if I just unlock it, now as I play this, that part of the video will stay blurred the whole time. And if there was some important information in there, nobody's going to see that. So anyway, I thought that was really cool that they're now adding some of these additional features right there into the YouTube editor. Pretty sweet stuff. Close out a few of these extra windows here. All right, next up, Google Sheets got a nice update to easily convert text to columns in a Google Sheet. So here I have a Google Sheet example of this. This has probably happened to you at some point. You've gotten a file that you copied and pasted into a Google Sheet with people's names or addresses or email addresses. And unfortunately, when you pasted it in, it put everything in the first cell instead of realizing that these things should be split up into multiple columns. Well, in the past, we've had to use add-ons to help us with this. And there's a bunch of awesome add-ons out there. I think there's one that I probably got installed called Split Names. Split Names works really well. It'll let you split that up. Or you could use formulas. There's a split formula you could use that would split things up. Well, the nice thing is you can still use those, but the nice thing is if you have a list where there's commas or colons or semicolons or whatever between the different items, and if they get pasted in, all you have to do is highlight those items. And then if you go up to, let me find where it's at now. I'm probably looking right at it here. Oh, there it is, data, split text to columns. Okay, so under data, split text to columns. It'll take whatever you've got highlighted here and it will look for the most logical division between them. Let's see if it does it. Boom, and it sure did. It found the comma. Now, if I didn't have a comma, I could choose different ones or a custom item between them. But in this case, it was a comma, and as quickly as that, you've got them all split up. So that's a nice new feature for Sheets. Next up, Google Photos is getting some new editing tools. I know this was one of the ones that I talked about earlier when we were doing our predictions for 2016. I kind of hinted that I thought this would be coming. I'm glad to see that it is. If you use Google Photos, so let me pop over to Google Photos here real quick. If you use Google Photos to store your images, and I'll just grab a sample picture here. Doesn't really matter which one. Let's grab that. You can store all your pictures and photos, which is wonderful. We've been able to do that for a long time, share those out, fantastic. Now they're adding some additional editing tools for your pictures. So if I have a picture and I come up to the little pencil icon to go into edit mode, I've always had these things like, adjusting the light and the color, that's been there. And we've had recoloring, these filters that we can use. They've added a new one though, which is cropping. And so this was not there until just recently. It used to be in the old version of Photos, which is what sort of my prediction was when we did the 2016 Google Apps predictions, was that with the new version of Photos, they would start putting these tools back in. And now we have a cropping tool put back in. So if I come here to my cropping tool, what's nice about it is I can either do free cropping or I can crop it to specific sizes. So I could say, I need this to be square, and it will crop it down to square. Or I need this to be in a 4:3 aspect ratio, and it'll crop it down to there. I can now move my picture. Whoops, I didn't mean to rotate that. I can now move my picture around as well. Oh, my rotation, I'm rotating it. That's not what I meant to do. Sorry about that. Let me get back to my aspect ratio. There we go. I can move my picture around as well underneath there. And if I resize this, it's going to stay in that 4:3 aspect ratio. So I can get it to be just the right aspect ratio, whether it's widescreen or square or a free cropping. So I thought that was kind of neat that they're now starting to add that in, which is something they used to have in the old version of Photos. So good for them to continue to build out Google Photos. Next thing, just a couple of quick ones here, and we've got Chrome extensions. This is a new update that is with Chrome. If you've updated to the latest version of Chrome, what you're going to start seeing is all of your extensions are going to start showing up in the top right, even if you do not have them turned on that they would normally be showing up. So let me show you what I mean. I don't think they're showing up on this one. Let me grab my other screen and I'll drag it over and show you. So here we go. This is my other account. Let me put that over here. Excellent. There we go. If you look up here in my top extensions, I've got some that I'm running like Save to Pocket and Extensity and Todoist and things like that. But then I've got these other ones like my Hover Zoom or this email extension, and they're grayed out. Well, what that means is they're running, but they don't normally show up in the extension bar up here. These are ones that typically would have shown up in a right-click menu, or they would have shown up while I was in my email or something like that. They're now showing all of the extensions that you have active, even if they're not normally up in the top toolbar. So don't be surprised when you go to launch the newest version of Chrome if suddenly, broomf, this toolbar gets a lot bigger with all these extensions. Well, here's the thing that you can do. If you decide that you really don't want all of those extensions to show up because I really don't need those showing up in my toolbar, you can simply right-click and say, hide in the Chrome menu. And if you choose that, it won't show it up there anymore. Instead, it'll show it in the Chrome menu. So if you click the Chrome menu button, you can still find them there, but you can now move them out of the main toolbar into the Chrome menu bar. And that's true for a lot of these extensions that don't need to be up here, because I don't actually need to click on these to run them. They run either through a right-click menu or they run when I'm in a particular program, and so they don't need to be up there. So just be aware of that change. Next up, we now have the ability to export Google Documents in EPUB format. For a long time, we've been able to export docs, go to File, go down to Download As. You can export as a Word doc or a PDF or plain text. Well, now Google has added EPUB. And if you don't know what EPUB is, it's basically the format that most e-readers use. So if you've got a Kindle or any sort of a book reader app on your phone or your tablet or your computer, EPUB is the most common format, or one of the most common formats for electronic books. Well, what's really neat about this is we try to talk a lot of times about having student work published beyond just the teacher looking at it. So if students are writing a story or they're doing an article or an essay, if the teacher is the only person who ever reads it, that's okay, but it's just one person, so the student's going to do a good enough job just for that teacher. On the other hand, we're starting to see a lot of schools say, no, let's take our student work and let's put it out to a broader audience. Let's let other people see the stories they've written, the articles they've written, the essays they've written, by putting them on the website or putting them out on social media or putting them into an ebook or doing something like that, so that the students have a broader, more authentic audience who's reading their work and giving feedback and commenting on it. In the past, we could do this in a number of ways. We could come up and say, oh, let's just share the student's work. So we could hit the share button. We could come here and we could say anybody with the link can view it. We wouldn't give them edit rights, obviously. We would say anybody with the link can view it. We'd switch it to view, and we would copy that link and we'd put the link out on our website. That would be fine. Or we might go to File and download it as a PDF so people could access it that way. Well, folks, this just gives us one more way to do this. You can now take student writing and you can download it in EPUB format, so that anybody who's using like a Kindle or some other e-reader, this is one more way you could put your students' writing online for people to download and use on their devices. And the thing that's neat about an EPUB is, instead of just a PDF, which is basically set in stone, it looks the way it looks, EPUBs can be adjusted. So if somebody likes the font larger or smaller or a different font, it will adjust that. And if you've ever used a Kindle or an e-reader app, you know what I'm talking about. And so this really lends itself much better to people being able to use read student work on a device. So thought that was really neat that we can now do EPUBs. Google Docs has added an outline tool. Most of you, if you've opened up a doc in the last week or so, you've seen this. It just automatically pops open to show you that it's there. If you have a Google document, you now can go to, see if I can find it here, Tools and Document Outline. And if you do that, it pops up an outline over here on the side, so you can quickly jump to the different sections of your document. And it does that by using these heading formats. And if you have not used the heading format yourself, it'll actually go in and change some of your titles to be in heading format. So it will actually go through and update your document to figure out what it thinks are the most logical spots to divide up your document. And again, you can just click on that X to close out of it, but tools and document outline will get you right back into it. Okay, we're getting close to the end of that. Expiration dates. You can now, or if you can't yet, you will be able to soon. They are rolling this out. Set expiration dates on people's access to the files you share. So if I were to take this document and share it with people, which I have done, I can come down here to see who I've shared it with. And if I say, you know what, Spark Online has view rights, but maybe I don't want them to be able to view this document forever, I can hover above here and a little stopwatch pops up. I can click that and it lets me set an expiration. I can say, you know what, Spark Online can view this document, but only for the next 7 days, 30 days, or a custom date. And at that point, they no longer can view the document. It will take that sharing away. Now, it works only for view rights and comment rights at the moment. If you have edit rights, it does not work. So if I had shared this also with Anthony and he's got edit rights and I said, I'm going to go ahead and limit how long he can access this document, by clicking this, it automatically downgrades him to comment rights. So it would be nice if that wasn't the case. And now I got to make sure he's back to edit. Good, he's back to edit. It would be neat if you could also do this for edit rights, and maybe someday that'll be the case. And this is just the first rollout of it. For now, though, it's only for things if you're giving view rights or comment rights. But still, that's neat. We can now say you're able to give me feedback on this document through comments up until this date, and after that, no, it just goes back to view only. You can't comment anymore, for example. Okay. Real quick one, just kind of fun. Google has added a Metronome card in Google search. What I mean by that is if you run a search for the word metronome, it will actually pop up a metronome that you can use. So search for metronome, hit play, and adjust the beats per minute, and you have a functioning metronome right in your search. Not unusual. Google does a lot of those sort of things. There's lots of cards, lots of things you can search for. Type in calculator and you get a calculator. You get the idea. There's lots of neat options in there. Metronome is just another one of those. And then just 2 days ago, we got the announcement that Hangouts is increasing its participant limit. It used to be Google Apps for Education, you can only have 15 people in the Hangout with you. They are now bumping that up to 25 people. I have not tried it out yet, so I don't know if it's rolled out yet or not, but it is rolling out. Here's the thing, though. You may say, Eric, how on earth would you do that in a Hangout? How could you have 25 little faces down at the bottom? Actually, you're not going to. What they're going to do is you can have 25 people in the Hangout. They'll only show the most active 10 people at the bottom at any one time. So if somebody's talking, whoever's been talking most recently or sharing their screen or doing something like that, that will now show the 10 most recent people at the bottom. Now, Katie's asking, does that apply to Hangouts on Air? I don't know, but I can't imagine that it would be a problem. The only thing that's a limit I know is it's only for Google Apps accounts, not for Gmail accounts. So if you're using a normal, just, ericcurts@gmail.com account, I've got the normal limit, which is actually 10 people in a non-apps Hangout. Google Apps always had a little bit of a bonus. We had 15 people. Now Google Apps, you get 25 people. So if you're a school account or a work account or a nonprofit account, Google Apps for those, that's where this new ability has been added. So not yet to the person. Now, I don't know. They might roll it out to the personal ones as well. But this is pretty cool because now you could have, 25 individual students in a Hangout. If you were doing a virtual class where the students were all at home, we're not limited to just 15 now. We can get actually up to 25 people in the Hangout. Other than that, I'm not really going to go into these next two things. I pulled them out just because there was so much on them. I didn't want them cluttering up the rest of it. If we had more time, I probably would spend a bit of time talking on this, but we got started a little bit late. So I'll leave some of this for you guys to investigate, and maybe we'll visit it again in the future. But safe to say there's a ton of VR updates. Google is really putting a lot of resources into Google Cardboard, into virtual reality, into adding more VR content to YouTube. So we've got a lot of articles here talking about how VR is going to be built into Android in the future. You won't have to download a separate app. It'll already be ready to handle VR. And that Google is also working on its own standalone VR headset. Instead of having to use Cardboard and drop your phone into it, they'll also have just a standalone headset. And then there's many more cool things in here. Google Expeditions, they're adding more content to that as well. So VR continues to explode. I think we're just going to see a lot more content with allowing people to be immersed in the videos, whether it's Google Cardboard, where it looks 3D, or whether it's just the YouTube channel where you can scroll around in a 360-degree sphere to look at all the different aspects of the video. We're going to see a lot more of that developing. And then this, again, I think could be its own whole discussion. But if you didn't follow, Google recently had a lot of news articles out there about the game of Go. Go is an ancient game that is not hard to understand the rules, but is incredibly complicated to play because of all of the options involved in it. It's a 19 by 19 grid where you're putting down black or white stones, and you're trying to surround your player and claim different areas of the board until you're the winner. So it's an easy to explain game, but the strategies that go into it are just phenomenal. And basically Google has been working on artificial intelligence, and they created AlphaGo, I don't want to call it a computer, but it's more of a neural net, a combination of multiple computers that sort of think together. And the big thing about this is, first of all, it won 4 out of 5 games, which nobody ever thought would happen. I mean, this is not like checkers, it's not like chess. This is way beyond the complexity of that. So we've seen IBM's Deep Blue defeat, chess champions in the past, and that was, big history many, many years ago. Nobody ever thought Go would fall to a computer. Well, it did. And the real key here, the big story, the big takeaway is they did not program AlphaGo on how to beat other people playing the game of Go. They let it learn. They actually let it learn how the game works. They let it play the game millions of times against itself and figure out what works in the game. It's the closest we've ever come to artificial intelligence, where a computer was not given like if you play chess against a computer, the reason it's winning is it can see every possible move. There are too many moves in Go. You just can't see that many. So instead, it learned how to play the game, basically, is what it comes down to. I think this is going to open up amazing frontiers in artificial intelligence, and I would love to think about how this could affect education. So I think that'd be a great discussion to talk about in the future when we have a little bit more time on that. How will artificial intelligence start changing what we can do with our students and for our students? How can computers help us in ways they've never been able to once they can start thinking more than they've been able to do in the past? So holy cow. Okay, that's a lot of stuff. So I'm going to pause there for a moment. And what I'm going to do is shift gears here, because it's very possible I've gotten a few notes or comments that I need to address. So I'm going to turn this over to Anthony here and Marlington. I'm going to give this over to them. And while I do that, I'm going to check and see if anybody has been texting me or emailing me about needing to get pulled into the Hangout or anything like that. And so Anthony, go ahead and you get those folks ready there. So what we're heading into is the final portion of our meeting, where we have our Q&A and our show and tell. So basically, the idea is if you have any questions, please feel free to throw them in the Q&A. We'll circle back around and catch those. And then below there is the show and tell. And we're going to start off with Marlington. And we'd love to hear from them, anything they want to share. I know they got stuff about CloudReady and one-to-one and Schoology. That's great. But if the student's there, if something caught their eye as we went through the updates and they want to share about that, I'd love to get a student perspective on this stuff as well, rather than just always hearing from us. We'd love to hear from you guys as well. After that, then when they're all done, I'll swing back in and go ahead and cover a few more of the Q&A, things like that. So Anthony, let me go ahead and I'm going to pull you up and have you present to everyone instead of me. And then I am try that again. There we go, present to everyone. And then I am going to mute myself and turn this over to you.
Well, first of all, I would like everyone in Marlington to say hi to the rest of the people out there. Hi. And we talked about why they don't want to do a denial of service attack, even though you were giving hints on how to do it.
Okay, my name is Eric Siders. I'm the tech director for Marlington Local Schools. Just some information on what's happened in Marlington. We have converted roughly 120 of our Dell 6400s to Chromebooks and deployed those in various classrooms throughout the district. We're mainly focused on getting those into elementary schools. We have also, we presented last night to our school board to do a one-to-one initiative at the high school, and actually the students probably don't even know this happened. But next year, we are waiting to announce what device we actually selected until Monday when Apple makes their announcement to see what the final price is going to be on a device. But we're looking to go with a laptop that is going to be deployed to all 800 of our high school students next year. In addition to that, Tuesday, we made the transition to the enterprise side of Schoology, so we're using a full-blown LMS with our students right now at the high school and middle school level. So those are some of the initiatives we're doing here at Marlington, and that's an update from us. I'll turn it over to any of the students, so if they want to chime in.
Anyone excited about getting their new device next year? Good thing you aren't seniors. You'd really be disappointed, wouldn't you? Do you have anything you'd like to share? You guys like voice typing? Yeah. I think I'm just going to lay in bed and type all the time now. Well, if you think of anything as we're going along, please feel free to let me know and I'll let you jump back in. Eric, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to you. Come on, Eric.
Well, yeah, hang on. That was my break, Anthony. Come on. I need a little bit more break than that.
Okay, I'll just sit here and talk for a while.
No, you're fine. Actually, Anthony, if you don't mind, are you ready to share your searching tool?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I'm going to still let you present, okay? And because I did have a few people that said they wanted to jump in the Hangout, so I'm writing them back right now. So let me keep on emailing them, and we may have a couple other guests join us if they're able to. So why don't you keep on going and share your searching information that you wanted to share.
This should be interesting because I don't have dual screen, so hopefully I'm not going to cause the endless screen bubble that I usually do. You're going to have to tell me whether you're able to see my screen okay or not.
At the moment, basically, we're seeing you scrolling down through the agenda document.
Very good. Okay, what I'd like to talk about today is a website called Kittle. And Kittle sounds like a really good idea, and actually it has a lot of good ideas around it. But one of the things is, this is one of the 250 search engines that I know about, maybe 300. I know most people don't realize there's that many. Actually, Google has over 20 different search sites themselves that most people don't realize. But Kittle was advertised on a couple groups as being, really great for smaller children as far as searching goes. And it does do some neat things, but I want to just say that whenever you start with a new search engine, you need to take it with a grain of salt and make sure that it really does what it says it's going to. So let's just search first for polar bears. And it brings up information on polar bears. One of the things they don't tell you about ahead of time, though, is it brings up advertisements on the right side. Well, that's fine. Advertisements are very common on a lot of sites. But the problem comes in when you start misspelling words. So let's type in cougars. They're all laughing. Actually, that's the way I saw anyway. So you notice now that we have a site that probably is not appropriate for grade school children because they're probably not going to be dating cougars. So just just want to tell you that what always looks like it's great sometimes is great and sometimes is not as great. So really, as educators, you need to be aware of the fact that there are some limitations, even though a site might advertise itself as being very kid-friendly. And if you notice up the top here, it says, powered by editors and Google custom search. What does that mean? Does that mean that Google's giving us the results? Well, anyone can set up their own Google custom search. All you do is you just set some parameters on Google search, and it will narrow down the search for you based on those parameters. But it doesn't mean that Google is actually choosing which results, because you have an influence over that process. Also, the ads on the side, those ads can be changed if the company wanted to. They could put some limitations on those ads that would remove some of those more offensive things. But just give you an idea that I always show you great web searching sites, and this site's pretty good in some ways, but always have to be aware that even though something sounds like it might be the best site in the world, you need to check it first before you use it with your students. So I'm going to turn it back to you, Eric, if you are presentable again there. I know you want to take a break, so I'm not sure what you were doing.
No, I'm perfectly fine. I just thank you so much, Anthony. No, I just had a few people said that if they could, they'd like to jump in the Hangout. They weren't sure if they'd be able to. They had students coming and going, but I just wanted to send them the Hangout invite. So the point is, though, yeah, if anybody would like to be in our Hangouts, you certainly are allowed to do so. We just basically need to, you just need to let me know. At the very top of the agenda, my email is up there, ericcurts@gmail.com. You guys can drop me an email and say, hey, you know, I'd love to share something really cool we're doing in our school. And rather than just viewing the Hangout, you can be in the Hangout with us. We'll pull you in and you can share your screen and talk about whatever you'd like to, and that would be fine. We're more than happy to do that. So I was just doing that real quick with a couple of people who had dropped me an email saying, if possible, they might try to join us. So over the next few minutes, as we wrap things up and go through a few more things here, it's possible we might have somebody jump in there. And if so, we welcome them. So, okay, so let's see. What did we still have to take a look at here? I see one question came in, and that was asking about the EPUB format. Can you also use that with other applications? I don't think so, but you know, hey, the best thing to do is you poke a stick at it. If you don't know if something works, you find out. So let's go ahead and let's come here and let's create a Google slide real quick and just see what export options we have. My guess is not. If we go to File and Download As, no, we're getting PowerPoint, PDF, we're getting images. So no, I'm not surprised, because EPUB is really designed for text. Now it will do images. If you've got images in there, it will do them. It doesn't do them great. Like if you've got like a help guide, like I do a bunch of help guides, those don't translate into EPUB as well, because I've got a whole bunch of pictures that I've got, you know, on the right and on the left and the center, and sometimes those don't translate as well. If you've just got like a story that has maybe, you know, a few pictures here and there that are meant to illustrate what the story is covering, that's fine. But because I throw so many little images all the time into all of my documents, those don't come through quite as well. So it's really strongest point, EPUB's strongest point is text. So think of reading a book. You know, if you're going to go somewhere on spring break and instead of carrying around a bunch of books, you're bringing your Kindle or your tablet with you, you're probably going to be reading EPUB versions of those books that you're putting on there. So it is best for text. And so for now, inside of Google Docs, we can now download as EPUBs as well. All right. So let's see, we've hit, Marlington shared a bit with us. We've talked about voice typing in Docs to practice world language pronunciation. We did want to mention in the show and tell also some of our recent webinars. If you have not had a chance to stay up to date on some of the recent ones we've been putting out, these are from the last 2 months, because again, we missed our February meeting. So Anthony did a great webinar on using Google Docs with some features you may not know about, like voice typing and things like that. I did a webinar on how we do our webinars. So if you're interested in making your own video PD, this webinar basically pulls back the curtain and shows you everything we do behind the scenes to make our webinars, record them, post them, all that kind of stuff. Virtual field trips for your class. Anthony did one on that, talking about using things like Hangouts, but also using lots of other Google and other related resources to connect your students with museums around the world and other places like that. I did my third and possibly final portion of the Google Sites for Schools series. I had done 2 last year, and so did a third part that sort of rounded off that. So if you're looking at using Google Sites, you've got 3 hours of training now that can tell you pretty much everything you need to know about sites. And then, of course, I just mentioned earlier the one I did on Google Forms. So the Google Forms add-ons, that webinar is available as well. Additionally, these are some of the recent posts. I'm not going to obviously go through all of these. These are the, oops, I misspelled greeting there. There we go. These are some recent posts from my website, controlaltachieve.com. I do blog on that site. So if you have not been to controlaltachieve.com, definitely check that out. There you'll find my blog posts. I try to put several up a week. Some weeks I get 5 up, some weeks I get 2 up. It just kind of depends upon the week, but I've went ahead and pulled out some, not all of them, but some of the recent posts from the last 2 months, again, because we didn't have a February meeting. So there's things in there about addressing cheating with Google Apps. I've got a post in there about what to do now that the Clearly Chrome extension has gone away. That was a wonderful extension that we used to clean up web pages. And so there's a link here with a bunch of other extensions you can use for students to clean up a web page that they're on, make it more readable. If you're not familiar with that, I'll just show you real quick how that looks. Do I have Clearly installed here? Or not Clearly, Readability. Readability is the one that's, here it is. This is the one that I'm using now as the replacement for it. Clearly was the one we always used. Now, if I go out to a site like dogonews.com, I always pick on them. It's a good student current event site, but it's crazy. There's tons of stuff on the site. If I come here and click on one of the articles, instead of having to compete with all of the stuff all around here, what I can do is I can come up to my Readability extension, give a click there, click on Read Now, and basically it cleans up the web page. So all I get is just the article with the pictures, nice white background, nice big font, and I can just focus on what I'm reading. So there's a bunch of those alternatives for Clearly, and that post covers those. And other things in there, we talked about text-to-speech tools, how to insert text boxes in docs, highlighting tools for your students. Let me see what other neat ones in there. If there's pre-service teachers, presentation to help them get ready and learn more about Google Apps in preparation for entering into a school teaching job. 4 fake websites to help teach your students about website evaluation. Teaching your science students about sound with Twisted Wave. How to make a greeting card with Google Drawings. 3 countdown timers for your classroom if you're looking for a countdown timer. One of those is another one of those Google search cards. If you just search for the word timer, whoops, it will bring up a timer, and you can come in here and set it to whatever you want. So maybe we'll do 10 seconds and start it, and you can even go full screen if you want. And you've got a countdown timer right there in your classroom ready to go. And then it'll beep when it gets done. There we go. And other than that, oh, for Pi Day, at an activity there using Google Sheets on Pi Day. So definitely follow along at Control-Alt-Achieve. Try to put several new things on there each week. And if you've missed anything in the last few months, well, there it is. That's the main stuff that has been on the site in the last few months. All right, well, let me pause there. I think that's most of the stuff that's in the agenda. I want to throw this open to everybody else here. And so hopefully, Anthony, if you're taking a look at the comments as well, maybe there's something there that catches your eye, or if there's somebody at Marlington that has something to share.
Yes,
folks
Eric
here.
would definitely like to share some things from Marlington.
Okay, let's do that. So I'm going to turn this back over to you and let you be the presenter. And I will get out of the way here. And you guys have at it.
One of the things that was also brought up, Eric, was to showcase one of the room that we're currently in. This is one of our blended learning rooms, one of the two we have here at high school. So you can see kind of the furniture and how it's set up.
It's comfortable.
It is. Kids like coming in here. It's kind of a college type room setting. So this one of the features that we have here going here in Marlington. So.
Eric, I think we need couches in our offices.
Couches in our offices? Is that what you said, Anthony?
Yeah, these students are having very comfortable seating here.
I think that's a great idea. I like that. Anything else from Marlington there? We got this wonderful audience. Were you able to coax anything out of the students there?
No, they're being real shy. They'll speak up too as I shut this connection off, because we're going to do a couple quick things that we weren't able to do online on air.
All right, that's fine. Well, we definitely want to thank the folks at Marlington for joining us live today and being the first group of students that we've ever had in one of the meetings. We'd love to do this with other schools, though. So if there's other schools that you would like to connect in the same way, please just let us know. If it's close enough by, Anthony will actually drive out there to be there on site. If not, we can just connect you in remotely. It's perfectly fine. We don't have to have Anthony on site, but he's happy to go if it's within a reasonable distance, but otherwise
I'm taking a special request for the Caribbean, Eric.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes. Anthony will go there. Yes. If you have a school, or in Hawaii, you've got a school, he'll go on out. But no, we'd be more than happy to bring in, because as much as we're happy to share all the resources that we do, I think, it's definitely more powerful if we get other people collaborating and sharing as well beyond just us. All right. I'm going to take a quick look here in our group here at Spark. Anything you guys would like to share? Questions, comments? No? We good? Let's look down through the sheet and see if we missed anything here. Looks like most of the stuff that got put in, we've addressed.
I'll flesh out the search and tell a little bit more later.
I see Kristen was asking about, does ad block remove the ads? And she said she poked a stick at it. Thank you so much, Kristen. And it did take the ads off. Yeah, and ad block is certainly a great extension if you want to use that to clean up ads off of a page. There are other ones as well. At the moment, I'm not using ad block. I'm actually using uBlock Origin, but there's a lot of ad blocking tools available out there, and yes, that will clean the ads off of the page. And that's pretty normal. I see a lot of schools will push out ad block or uBlock or one of those tools so that students automatically have it installed. It's just pushed right out to them to help clean up the ads on sites. That's not unusual. All right. Anything else, Anthony, before I do my wrap up here where I give them the final info?
I just want to mention one more thing about ad blockers. If you're putting up a website yourself, you may want to look at what your site looks like through the ad blockers, even if you don't have ads, because remember we had a problem with one of the fonts would not go through the ad blocker site. So if you do put a site up, make sure you take a look at it through some of the ad blocking tools to see what your site looks like.
And conversely, make sure you also look at your site, with ad blocker turned off as well. I use ad blocker all the time, so I forget sometimes how things look the other way as well. So not a bad suggestion there, Anthony. Turn it on and off when you're getting ready to share information with others to make sure you see how it looks the other way than what you normally are used to seeing. Well, as we wrap up here, folks, a couple of quick announcements. We do have a meeting next month. It is on a different date, though, than it normally is. So let me pull that up for you. And that happens a lot. We have conflicts and we have to switch things around. So on our website, which again is google.apps.spark.org/user group, If you go down to our agenda, it's just 1 week later in April. It's not the 3rd. It's actually going to be the, I guess that'd be the 4th Friday in April. The week before, we had a conflict on that. So April 22nd in the morning will be our next one. And again, I always say this, please, 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 please check this page, because even within a few weeks, sometimes we've got to bump them around. It just happens. Things come up and we've got to do trainings or take care of other stuff. So hopefully the May one is May 20th, but again, we don't know. But April 22nd, yes, that is the correct date for next month's. I don't have anything posted for it yet, but usually within about a week after the meeting that we just finished, I'll put up the agenda for that one and the event link, and you guys can start throwing your ideas and things into it even ahead of time. Other than that, let me just remind people that if you haven't signed in to the sign-in form, please grab that under important links. Oops, we lost our link there. Let me put that link back in. There we go. So it's tiny.cc/GUG-sign-in. So Google User Group sign-in. That link takes you out to a Google form where you can sign in to show that you were with us today, and I'll send out a PDF certificate of attendance for those who attended. Even if you watch this recorded, that's fine too. If you watch the whole thing, go ahead and sign in and we'll send you a certificate as well. Glad to do so. Other than that, definitely join one of our communities, either the Spark Google User Group or the GEG Ohio, or both of them. We'd love to have you in those communities. It's a great way to stay in touch in between the meetings and to ask questions and share resources with each other. And definitely take advantage of any of the upcoming webinars and conferences as well. This document will remain live. I will switch it from edit rights to comment rights here in a little while, so that in the future you can always leave comments on it, but it'll get locked as far as editing goes. But you can access this document because there's way more links than we got into. There's a lot of other news items we skipped over because there just wasn't enough time to cover 2 full months, but you can definitely come in here and click on any of these links from here on out. Other than that, thanks so much to everybody for being with us here today. I'll look forward to connecting with you guys again in the future. So thanks so much and take care.
Go Dukes.
Go Dukes. All right.